tungkol sa sulat na ipinadala ni Dr. Rizal sa mga kababaihan ng Malolos at patungkol rin ito sa La Indolencia de los Filipinos o The Indolence of Filipino. Narito ang buod ng letter to the women of Malolos. To the women of Malolos was written by Dr. Rizal and originally written in Tagalog. Isinulat ito ni Rizal dahil sa hiling ni Marcelo upang bigyang puri ang katapangang ipinapakita ng mga kababaihan ng Malolos at sa pag-asang magdinitaan ito upang mapasigla ang ating mga kababayan sa makikipaglaban sa mga praile ng hegemonya. The salient points contained in this letter are as follows. The rejection of the spiritual authority of the friars. Hindi lahat ng mga praile noon ay napapanindigan ang totoong espiritu ni Kristo at ng kanyang tahanan. Karamihan dito ay mga korap at inaabuso ang kapangyarihang ipinapataw sa kanila ng simbahang Katoliko. The defense of private judgment. Pagkakaroon ng sariling opinyon na hindi nakahaluan ng politika o relihiyon. Dapat nating pakinggan ang opinyon ng ating kapwa, hindi lamang ang ating opinyon. Equal right to education. Magkaroon ng pantay na edukasyon para sa mga kababaihan dahil hindi lamang ang mga kalalakihan ang may karapatan sa edukasyon. Qualities Filipino mothers need to possess. Sa parte ng sulat na ito, nagpakita si Rizal ng pag-aalala sa kapakanan ng mga batang Pilipino at mga tahanang kinalakihan nila. Duties and responsibilities of Filipino mothers to their children. Duties and responsibilities of a wife to her husband. Counsel to young women on their choice of a lifetime partner. Paggabay sa mga kababaihan sa pagpili ng kanilang mapapangasawa.
I am Alex and I will be here to talk about the responsibilities of Filipino mothers to their children. Rizal stipulates a number of important points in this portion of his letter to the young women of Malolos. The central idea here, however, is that whatever a mother shows to her children is what the children will become also. So sinabi niya ni Rizal na kung ano daw yung tinuro ng isang ina or pinakita ng isang ina sa kanyang anak, ay ito rin ang magiging ganito din yung kanyang anak in the future. Also, Rizal stated then na if the mother is always kissing the hand of the friars, pare, in a submission, then her children will grow to be psychopaths and mindless fools who do nothing, but do as they are told. So, kahit ito'y labag sa kalooban nila, or labag sa kanilang rights bilang individual. So, magiging masunurin lang sila. Also, Rizal enumerates the qualities of Filipino mothers need to possess, no? First is be a noble wife. When we say a noble wife, kailangan daw ang isang ina ay isang maalaga, isang wife material, maalaga sa kanyang asawa, maalaga sa kanyang anak, marunong magluto, marunong sa gawain. So, yun yung typical, no? It's a kahanga-hangang asawa. Bilang lalaki, kung saan mo mandalhin yung asawa mo, talaga mapapagmalaki mo siya. Kasi siya yung isang maayos na ina. Kaya na asawa para sa'yo. In other words, is a noble wife. Na talagang mapagmamalaki mong asawa kahit saan ka makarating. So, secondly is rear her children in the service of the state. So, sinasabi dito na ang isang ina dapat ay kanyang iminumulat ang anak niya na mag-serbisyo, magkaroon ng serbisyo or maglingkod sa sarili niyang lipunan. Kasi sa panahon natin ngayon, di ba, tayong mga magulang ngayon, sinasabi nila, anak, mag-aral ka, sa ibang bansa ka magtrabaho. So, sinasabi ni Rizal before na importante, mahalaga na turuan ng isang magulang ang kanyang anak at palakihin na mayroong pagpapahalaga sa lipunan na as much as possible is palakihin niya ang anak niya na marunong tumanaw, maglingkod sa sarili niyang lipunan. So, third is set standard of behavior for men around her. So, sinasabi ng isang ina daw ay dapat hindi gaya ng ibang babae na dahil may asawa ka na nga, dahil yung alam mo yun, you have to set a standard for yourself, no, around men. Hindi pwedeng magsuot ka ng ganito kaikli, magganyan to ka, mag-party ka or whatsoever, kasama yung mga kaibigan mo, may kasama ka mga lalaki. You have to be the woman have to be very mindful about it, no. Kailangan may maayos siyang behavior when it comes to men. Kasi siya ay isang ina, isang asawa, no? So, yun lang naman yung mga highlights ni Rizal doon sa kanyang yun yung mga important points niya sa kanyang letter to young women of Malolos. So, also, Rizal have advised to unmarried men and women, no? Jose Rizal points out to unmarried women that they should not be easily taken by appearances and looks. Totoo nga naman, kahit ngayon, in my opinion, we shouldn't have base kasi sa itsura ng isang lalaki. Di mo naman masasabi, pogi nga, paano pag loko-loko, diba? So, I think it's very important. Rizal is right about it, na dapat yung mga babae hindi tumitingin or nagpapadeceive sa itsura ng isang lalaki. Instead, they should take heed of men's firmness of character and lofty ideas. Meaning, hindi importante, wag mong tingnan yung looks, tingnan mo yung character, yung may respeto ba sa babae, may respeto ba sa lahat, yung mga good characters na makikita mo sa isang lalaki. Hardworking ba? Hindi lang maayos na lalaki, mabait ba? So, huwag mong titingnan yung appearances niya in a way na, ay, pogi to, crush ko na siya na ang gusto ko. Hindi ganun. So, we have to set standard for us women na dapat tingnan natin yung character ng isang lalaki instead na appearances yung tingnan natin. So, Rizal further adds that there are 3 things that young woman must look for a man she intends to be her husband. So, first is a noble and honored name. So, it's very important. Feeling ko, in my opinion, kasi dito, is, pag sinabi natin na noble and honored name, you know, may mga lalaki kasi, lalo sa panahon ngayon na hindi mo alam, kasal na pala, hindi mo alam na parang may girlfriend palang tinatago sa'yo, or may kasong ganito, ganyan. So, we must look for it, no? Kailangan, tingnan natin na ang lalaki ba ay galing sa maayos na pamilya, maayos na tao ba? Walang sabit or maayos na tao. So, it's very important, no? Second is a manly heart. So, when we see a manly heart, kaya dyan tayo nadadali mga babae, maruroko ka na. So, a manly heart is a strong person, is a strong heart na kayang i-take kahit anong hirap sa relationship, na maalaga siyang tao sa'yo. Kayang i-take yung responsibility ng relationship niyo. Mahalin ka ng buo, ng maging loyal sa'yo yan. It's what we call a manly heart. So, lastly na sinabi ni Rizal is a high spirit incapable of being satisfied with engendering slaves. So, I think this one, bukod sa ang lalaki dapat, tingnan natin na dapat siya ay maka-Diyos. Kasi dyan natin nakikita, he must have high spirit, no? Na dyan natin nakikita yung pagiging matatag niya, pagiging respect niya sa other people. If mahal mo ang Diyos, kaya mo mahalin lahat, no? So, and I think nakikita ko to, the high spirit and capable of being satisfied is, kaya niyang i-take lahat ng hirap, or willing siyang maging slave for your love, willing siyang ibigay lahat kahit hindi niya naiintindihan, kahit hirap na siya. He is willing, he is that strong person that have high spirit to have alam mo yun, ipaglaban ng isang relationship kahit mahirap or mga ganun. Before kasi, I think, nasabi to ni Rizal kasi before, sa panahon nila, hindi lahat ng tao or isang lalaki ay madaling gustuhin ng pamilya ng isang babae. So I think before kailangan mo pang mag-give, ganito, ganyan. So I think Rizal pointed out na dapat ang lalaki ay ganun. He is willing, he have a high spirit, and incapable of being satisfied with endangering slaves. So kailangan kaya niya yun, no?
Here is the analysis of To the Woman of Malolos. It centers around 5 salient points. First, Filipino mothers should teach their children love of God, country, and fellow men. Second, Filipino mothers should be glad and honored like Spartan mother to offer their son in defense of their country. Third, Filipino women should know how to protect their dignity and honor. Fourth, Filipino women should educate themselves aside from retaining their good racial values. Fifth, faith is not merely reciting prayers and wearing religious pictures. It is living the real Christian way with good morals and manners. In recent times, it seems that these qualities are gradually lost in the way Filipino women conduct themselves. There are oftentimes moments where mothers forget their role in rearing their children because of the overriding idea of having to earn for the family to supplement their husband's income. Although there is nothing negative about working hard for the welfare of the family, there must always be balance in the way people go through life. Failure in the home cannot be compensated for by any amount of wealth or fame. Are you curious who are the women who signed the letter of Malolos? I will tell you the following women who signed the letter of Malolos: Alberta Uy Tangpoy, Merced Tiongson, Feliciana Tiongson, Agapita Tiongson, Olympia Tantoco, Teresita Tantoco, Basilica Tiongson, Maria Tantoco, Basilia Tantoco, Leoncia Reyes, Olympia Reyes, Elicia Reyes, Aurea Tanchanco, Eugenia Tanchanco, Paz Tiongson. Also, these women who signed but didn't indicate their surname: Celia, Juana, Filomena, Anastasia, Rina, and Cecilia.
It was published in 5 installments from July 15 to September 15, 1890 in Madrid, Spain, La Solidaridad. La Indolencia de los Filipinos, more popularly known in its English version, The Indolence of the Filipinos, is an exploratory essay written by Philippine national hero Dr. Theresa to explain the alleged idleness of his people during the Spanish colonization. Its purpose is to explain the so-called indolence or laziness of the Filipinos, awaken his countrymen how they've been deceived, discriminate, and inherit the negative traits from the Spaniards, and expose the wrongdoings of Spaniards during the colonization. Rizal defends the Filipinos by saying that Filipinos are not born indolent because before the colonization, Filipinos were engaged in activities like agriculture and trade. Indolence is only caused by discrimination, government deficiency, corruption, wrong doctrines of the church, or the attitude of the friars, and many practices that the Spaniards taught to Filipinos. The traits that we Filipinos inherited from the Spaniards led to the deterioration of Filipino values. The Spanish reign brought about a decline in economic activities because of certain causes. First, Rizal emphasized that the tropical environment is a big factor. Nature recognizes this and, like a good mother, has compensated by making the ground more fertile, more productive. A day's work in a temperate climate is equal to an hour's work beneath that burning sun, in the midst of destructive forces coming from nature in action. Second, all prior ties between the Philippine and other Asian Middle Eastern countries were severed when the galleon trade was established. As a result, only Mexico was used to conduct commerce with Spain. As a result, The tiny companies and crops industries that thrived prior to the Spanish conquest progressively faded away. Spain also extinguished the natives' love of work because of the implementation of forced labor. Because of the wars between Spain and other countries in Europe, as well as the Muslims in Mindanao, the Filipinos were compelled to work in shipyards, roads, and other public works, abandoning agriculture, industry, and commerce.
So for the additional information about the Spanish reign brought about a decline in economic activities because of a certain causes, Spain did not protect the people against foreign invaders and pirates. They were so helpless and the damage to them was severe. So as a result, they lost interest in cultivating their lands or in rebuilding the industries that were shut down, and simply became submissive to the mercy of God. There was a crooked system of education, if it was to be considered an education. What was being taught in schools were repetitious prayers and other things that the student could not use to lead the country forward. There were no courses in agriculture, industry, or other fields that the Philippines desperately needed at the time. The Spanish rulers were a bad example to despise manual labor, since the officers don't seem to be doing their job well. The officials arrived at work at midday and left early, doing nothing in accordance with their responsibilities. The maids were constantly spotted following the women, dressing and fanning them, personal tasks that they should have done for themselves. Also, gambling was established and widely propagated during those times. Almost every day there were cockfights, and during feast days, the government officials and friars were first to engage in all sorts of bets and gambles. There was a crooked system of religion too, as they fooled the naive Filipinos, saying that it was easier for a poor man to enter heaven, and so they preferred not to work and remain poor so that they could easily enter heaven after they died. During those times, the taxes were extremely high, so much so that a huge portion of what they earned went to the government or to the friars. Abuse and discrimination, inaction of the government, wrong examples from some Spaniards who led lives of indolence which ultimately led to the deterioration of Filipino values, lack of moral support, and deprivation of human dignity. And the lack of unity among the Filipino people were also a factor. In the absence of unity and oneness, the people did not have the power to fight the hostile attacks of the government and of the other forces of society. There would also be no voice, no leader to sow progress and cultivate it, so that it may be reaped in due time.
For the analysis of indolence of Filipino, it is vital to know that indolence is a chronic illness in the Philippines, not a hereditary one. Truth is, before the Spaniards arrived on these lands, the natives were industriously conducting business with China, Japan, Arabia, Malaysia, and some other countries in the Middle East. The reasons for this said indolence were clearly stated was just brought about by the treatment of the Spaniards and of course, some Filipino elites unfortunately towards the natives. Another factor that has contributed to this indifference is the lack of togetherness among the Filipino people. The people lack the capacity to confront the governments and other forces of society's hostile attacks in the absence of unity and oneness. There would also be no voice, no leader to plant and cultivate progress so that it could be reaped when the time came. In such a state, the Philippines remained a lifeless, dead, simply existing and not a living country. A man in the Philippines is an individual, he is not only a citizen of a country. Rizal concluded. The cause of the indolence attributed to our race can clearly be deduced from the writing. When Filipinos wanted to study and learn, there were no schools, and if there were, they lacked of sufficient resources and did not present more useful knowledge. When Filipinos wanted to start businesses, there was insufficient capital and government protection. When Filipinos wanted or tried to cultivate their lands and establish various industries, there was insufficient capital and government protection.